Hello, welcome to Gameworms. I am Bryant Reel, and I'm going to be walking you through another faction review, a faction summary for Twilight Imperium 4. And today we're going to be talking about the Mahact Gene-Sorcerers. And the Mahact are a new faction that came with the Prophecy of Kings expansion. They're very lore-rich, so very interesting history to these guys. So they predated the Lazacs. So as a quick review, Twilight Imperium, the game, is set about 1,000 years after the fall of the Lazacs Empire. And the Lazacs were an alien race that had ruled the galaxy for about 24,000 years. But before their rule, there were these guys called the Mahact kicking around. And their timeline of rulership, and I don't want to say rulership, it's not like they didn't rule the galaxy in the same way that the Lazacs did, like with like galactic councils and things. It was kind of maybe more like a bunch of gangs running around, maybe a bunch of like baronies or something that were just kind of fighting, against each other even. Like they weren't really a cohesive force all of the time, but they were still more cohesive together than they were against all the other races. But they were the guys that were like bullying the predecessors to the Age of Flight, the Skikrai, I think they were called. They were making them fight as part of their armies against each other. And people really feared them because they called them the Gene-Sorcerers because they had technology that seemed magic-like. They could manipulate people's minds and bodies, and they could like turn planets into, hellscapes and all sorts of things. They're very terrifying. They were fairly cruel, and the Lazacs at the time, who were kind of a minor faction, kind of led a rebellion against them. And so they ended up chasing them off of Mechatol Rex, where they'd been ruling, and that's where the Lazacs set up their empire. But during the 24,000 year rule of the Lazacs, a lot of the knowledge of the Mahact and what had happened to them disappeared to time. Now, I have managed to scrounge up a little bit of history. I've got just a short clip that from the archives on Mechatol Rex of one of the Mahact Gene-Sorcerers fighting some sort of human, what seems to be a human-insect hybrid.
All right, Mysterio. Here I am. Where are you? What kind of trick is that?
No tricks, Spider-Man. I am Mysterio, and I'm going to destroy you. Spider-Man, you have met your match.
No false modesty, please. Very clever.
Overconfident fool. My power is greater than yours.
Magnetized jet shoes. Wow.
Care to go around again?
Try this time.
Big talk, small action.
Think so? Try touching me. Yet, his smog maker dissolved the webs.
Your puny little bag of tricks is exhausted, Spider-Man.
Not quite, weirdo.
But beyond that, we have very little record of the Mahact. But after they were chased, when they were being chased from Mechatol and they were kind of in retreat from this rebellion, they were planning ahead, right? So they started planting these big giant robots under the ground, sleepers, and these would later develop their AI would develop to become self-aware. They actually became the Titans of old, so they ended up not working for the Mahact. But the Mahact actually had other agents and things that they were placing around the galaxy in anticipation that there could be an opportune time in the future for them to make a return. They were chased back to a planet called Acron. And what was important about Acron, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is it had a big, like they had made a wormhole generator there. Because their planet, Ix, was really out of reach of the rest of the galaxy. It's way far out from one of the arms of the galaxy. So you couldn't really fly to and from Ix. So they had this wormhole generator on Acron that they retreated through to their home planet of Ix. And then the people that chased them took this wormhole generator and basically chucked it into the bottom of an ocean, so nobody could recover it. But then after the thousands and thousands of years of Lazak's rule and then their fall, the knowledge of the Mahact became kind of a shadow of history. But there were still rumors and legends and prophecies regarding their planet of Ix. And there were just all these stories of how rich and wonderful it was and how all these wonderful ancient technologies were there. So it's kind of like a big treasure hunt. People were looking for this planet of Ix. And it was the ghosts of... And so there's all these clues kind of everywhere. And so the ghosts of Crius were actually the ones that tracked down the planet Acron, because I think it was near Schilleri space, the Bermuda Triangle zone of the galaxy where they live. And they were able to find the remnants of this ancient wormhole generator, and being the ghosts of Crius, being the masters of the wormhole, they were able to get it going again. And so they went through expecting to find this great, wonderful planet, but it was not like that at all. In fact, I'm going to read the planet card description from the planet Ix. And it is a dry, dead world of black volcanic mountains and molten seas of lava. The great necropolis of Dol Gorgos on the plateau Imperia is the only evidence of civilization. So what they found was the Mahact in cryosleep. So they put themselves into stasis for thousands and thousands of years waiting for the return. And I believe what had happened was that all these clues and prophecies leading the ghosts back to Ix had actually been laid by agents. Kind of, seeing this as an opportune time to have the Ix make a return, getting these other factions to actually bring them back, thinking they were hunting down this great treasure or technology or something. So the Mahact woke up and attacked the ghosts of Crius and kind of took over their minds, I guess, because then the ghosts went to Mechatol Rex to announce the return of the Mahact. So that's one of the things that makes the Mahact so terrifying, is their ability to, do that sort of thing. So the Mahact are now just kind of returning to reconvene their tyrannical dominion over the galaxy. So let's take a look at them in the game sense, the mechanical sense. All right, so the starting technology, they actually start with two of the new technologies that came with the expansion, biostims and predictive intelligence. Their starting units is 1 dreadnought, a carrier, a cruiser, 2 fighters, 3 infantry, and 1 space dock. So it's actually, I'd say it's a kind of a weak starting force. They're the ideal, I think I've mentioned in other videos, usually people consider 4 infantry with 2 carriers. You can get by in a lot of cases without that, but they do have the dreadnought with capacity, but you're not going to be spreading out super quickly in the first round, probably, unless you can work around that. All right, so population unknown. We don't know a whole lot about these guys, except they are led by someone named Vertar Oran Oblis. Would be kind of like the boss dude, or I guess the most powerful of the Mahact. They have some very interesting faction abilities. So let's take a look at Edict. Edict. When you win a combat, place 1 command token from your opponent's reinforcements in your fleet pool if it does not already contain one of that player's tokens. Other players' tokens in your fleet pool increase your fleet limit, but cannot be redistributed. So you can build your fleet pool using other people's tokens, which is going to enhance some of your other abilities that I'll get into, but also lets you use those tokens elsewhere. So instead of allocating your own fleet supply tokens, you can use somebody else's tokens. But you can only have 1 from each other player, and you have to acquire them through combat. Imperia. While another player's command tokens is in your fleet pool, you can use the ability of that player's commander if it is unlocked. And that's a pretty amazing side effect of the Edict, in that you don't need the Alliance card to use somebody else's commander. As long as you have their token and their commander is unlocked, you get their commander ability. And then their final is a negative. Well, that's not really a negative. Hubris. During setup, purge your Alliance promissory note. Other players cannot give you their Alliance promissory note. But again, you don't really need it because you're using their commanders anyways by attacking them, winning, getting their token, and then you get to use their commander anyway. So that's pretty cool. As far as their units go, they do have 1 unique of regular units, they have unique infantry called Crimson Legionnaires. And so they start with the Crimson Legionnaire 1. After this unit is destroyed, gain 1 commodity or convert one of your commodities to a trade good. That might be handy just because I feel like if you're playing these guys, maybe everybody else will hate you. And so probably won't let you fill your commodities, so you can use these guys. You can use your Legionnaires to make money. I guess that's a life insurance scam they got going, I don't really know. Alright, and then let's just go right to their faction technology so we can talk about the upgrade for that. So that's the Crimson Legionnaire 2. After this unit is destroyed, gain 1 commodity or convert one of your commodities to a trade good, so same as before. Then place the unit on this card. At the start of your next turn, place each unit that is on this card on a planet you control in your home system. So you're basically just getting all your guys back for free all the time, every time they die. And you're making money off of their deaths. So that's like the ultimate life insurance scam, is somebody that you can kill over and over and keep cashing in on their insurance policy. Okay, other faction technology is genetic recombination. You may exhaust this card before a player casts votes. That player must cast at least 1 vote for an outcome of your choice, or remove 1 token from their fleet pool and return it to their reinforcements. So you just be a jerk about voting if you want to. I feel like a big theme about these guys is kind of being a jerk. Okay, let's take a look at their flagship, the Archon Rex. During combat against an opponent whose command token is not in your fleet pool, apply +2 to the results of this unit's combat rolls. That's just as cool because it makes it a lot easier to win the combats against the people from whom you need to still take a token. So if you have your flagship in play, you don't have a specific enemy's token, you can attack them and get bonuses to your combat to make it more likely you'll win and get that token from them. So that's pretty good, goes along with their theme, and it's got a pretty decent attack there with 5 at 2 dice. Let's take a look at their mech, the Star Lancer. After a player whose command token is in your fleet pool activates this system, you may spend their token from your fleet pool to end their turn. They gain that token. So that's pretty neat. So a good defense, you are losing one of the tokens you really want and giving it back to them, so giving them a bonus, but could potentially ward off an otherwise devastating attack if you need to. Now let's take a look at their planet, the planet of Ixth. It's going along with kind of their weak start. I mean, they chose to live on a hellscape planet, so resource level is very, very low at 3. A lot of influence, and I wouldn't think of this as positive influence like some of the other factions have, like the X-Jaw. I would say this is negative influence. You know, it's a bully's influence. They're loud, they're obnoxious, everybody knows they're there. They're influential. They're just not like the Machiavellian sort of influence, I guess, kind of more fear than respect or love. Well, maybe respect, but not love, ruling out of fear. Okay, so production-wise, not so great, but surprising amount of influence for these fellas. Let's take a look at their agents. So their leader. So their agent is Jaimir Khan. When you would spend a command token during the secondary ability of a strategic action, you may exhaust this card to remove one of the active player's command tokens from the board and use it instead. So that's pretty cool. So if you don't have enough strategy tokens, let's say you want to play off of technology, somebody's just played technology and you want to do the secondary but you don't have any tokens left, you could remove somebody else's token. You are giving them a big bonus by doing that, potentially. So you want to do that very cautiously. But, you know, it could be mutually beneficial to both of you. So this could be a way to actually make some friends. Like, hey, I'll take that token off, buddy. So, you know. Okay, and let's take a look at their commander. So the commander's name is Ilna Viroset. It's unlocked by having 2 other factions' tokens in your fleet pool. And during your tactical actions, you can activate systems that contain your command tokens. If you do, return both command tokens to your reinforcements and end your turn. That is amazing. So you could really attack an area twice, for example. You could attack it with one fleet. And let's say you lost there or you won but barely and want to reinforce it. You could activate it again on your next turn, and you're losing both of those tokens, but you're removing them from the board, which means later another fleet could go in. So I would say that's costly token-wise, but potentially could be pretty good maneuvers you can do with that. And you are saving some tokens by moving them. You know, you don't need them so much in your fleet supply as long as you have everybody else's. All right, let's take a look at their hero, Aero Sheer Hour, and the ability is called Benediction. Unlocked, of course, by having not three secret objectives. It's unlocked by having 3 objectives scored. And this is played as an action. Move all ships in the space area of any system to an adjacent system that contains a different player's ships. Space combat is resolved in that system. Neither player can retreat or resolve abilities that would move their ships. Then purge this card. That's a horrifying ability for the other players. So basically what you're doing is, it's one of their examples of their mind control abilities, is they're forcing 2 fleets to fight against each other, and neither of them are allowed to retreat or move their ships out until the battle is complete. So I would say that's one of the more powerful, but again, enemy, you're going to make a lot. I don't know how you're going to play these guys without making a lot of enemies. That doesn't mean I'd want to try. They seem like a lot of fun, but I would say, I think it's going to be hard to use a lot of like really friendly diplomacy. It's going to be more like, I think bullying. Again, this is just a tactic you're going to have to use. Make sure you're playing with the group. I think Twilight, can I make a digression here? I think Twilight Imperium is a game where the personalities of the other players really matter. So I have been reading online, you know, I'm on the threads and stuff for Twilight Imperium, and you see people complaining of playing with people on Tabletop Simulator or something like that, and they'll, you know, a lot of times some of the other players are very critical of how they play, and like, oh, you're making stupid moves, newbie moves, and all stuff like that, and kind of getting a bad taste, you know, playing with these other types of people. Don't play with those types of people. Diplomacy is the name of the game for Twilight Imperium. Even if you're playing the Mahact and you're playing a jerk, you can be a jerk in a way that's still nice to the other players. Like, I can be nice to another player and still be the Mahact, and the Mahact can still be a jerk to their guys, but I'm not a jerk. You know what I mean? You can still be civil and compete and be a jerk with your guy, on the guys on the board. Don't play with jerks, right? You have to play with people that could play the Mahact in a way that's fun and exciting. Like, I think it'd be exciting to play against somebody who's a real big Mahact. You know, they would be intimidating, it would be frightening, but that would be a lot of the fun, you know, playing against the Mahact. So just don't play with jerks. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about with these guys is their Scepter of Dominion. This is their promissory note. At the start of the strategy phase, choose one non-home system that contains your units. Each other player who has a token on the Mahact player's command sheet places a token from the reinforcements in that system. Then return this card to the Mahact player. I could see this one being a pretty good promissory note. So it's basically like having the diplomacy card. So instead of taking the diplomacy strategy card, you could just use this. As long as the Mahact sheet has the tokens of the people you're worried about attacking you, you can just use this to protect yourself. So that's pretty nice. Alright, so final order of business, we'll just have everybody rise and put your hands on your hearts for the Mahact Gene-Sorcerers Anthem.
Money.
I can't be stopped with my magic wand. It is through my limbs and it goes far beyond. Oh, electric space wizard, I'm the warrior. Sifting through the trans-dimensional doors, you cannot see me coming from behind, but then you see it's all too late for humankind. Electric space wizard. I'm flying through the sky above, shouting at the lightning beams of love. And now they're coming for you. And there's nothing you can do. I'm staring through the galaxy upon my mighty steed, reaching elemental forces with blinding speed. Flying warrior from above, you cannot stop my magic wand of love. Electric space wizard.